All right, guys. Thank you. Listen, was a really good team we played. Got a lot of respect for those guys and that team and Dwyane and the job. Obviously, those guys are used to winning for a number of years now between John and now what Dwywane's doing. Really good players, really good team. One of the elite defensive teams in the country based on numbers right now. I thought their length and size bothered us. Daggone it, do we make it interesting? But I give our guys a lot of credit. I give them a lot of credit. I think they battled in. I told our sophomore, who's had an unbelievable season, it was probably not his best 3.5 minutes, but it was one of his best defensive possessions there late on the switch out to challenge Mike Smith's shot. So credit to him for responding.
All righty, we'll open it up with Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on SI.
Chris, congratulations on the win. I want to ask you here. You've told us several times about how the beginning of this season you weren't sure if the season was even going to happen, and how the guys, were so focused on living in the moment. You wanted this team to enjoy the moment. They've won 3 games in 3 days, and now you have a chance to play for a championship. And this season has gone very well so far for you. What's it feel like to know that at a minimum, with all that you've been through the last 12 months, that you will have a championship game here in front of you tomorrow?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's I've told you guys, dating back to the summer, I didn't know what this group could be, but in our journeys, our story's still being written. But what I did feel is incredibly good about this group. And I feel incredibly good about our young guys, our old guys. I feel incredibly good about our culture, and that's a credit to our guys. And it's exciting. Listen, every game here has been a challenge. We certainly could have lost all 3 of them, but we also, probably dropped 1 or 2 that we could have won. So I give our guys credit. It's a phenomenal experience. I'm glad they're enjoying it.
All righty, we'll go next to Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch.
Chris, what kind of, what are you telling your guys throughout the course of the game when you're playing your 3rd game in 3 days, overtime yesterday? That legs are and fatigue are probably going to become an issue at some point. What are you telling your guys, and what are you seeing from them on the bench as this game goes on that enables you to have a run like you did in the second half to take that lead the way that you did?
Yeah, Adam, I just think this group has real fight to them. They have real, we use words like grit way too much, and we do it as coaches, but this team has that. It has that at a high level. And I think that was evident in that stretch. And I do think, Adam, to your point, that was the difference in the game, that stretch. That was the difference in the game. I thought CJ Walker, listen, we ran a rescreen action there late. He stepped out of bounds there. But I will be honest with you, his pursuit of loose balls in the second half, holy cow. I mean, some of those loose balls he got, unbelievable. They were unbelievable. And I'm going to think about that when I think about him a lot.
All righty, next up, Whitney Harding, WCMH. Whitney.
Hey, Chris. Yesterday I asked you about playing Michigan. You said the defense has to be better. 92 points in the first game, 67 today. Livers helped out a little bit there. But what did you see from the guys out there defensively today?
Yeah, obviously, I feel for Isaiah. I hope he gets back and is healthy, and they can have him in the tournament. He certainly makes a difference, but we also FaceTime with our guy right after the game. We missed him too, and they have really good players. Chandra Brown's a great player, but I to your point, I think that was the difference. It's really been the difference, Whitney, in this tournament is our commitment on that end, which you guys know I've been honest that I felt like I needed to coach that better. This is the first time in my career where I feel like I've just been disappointed at times for long stretches with our team's defensive effort. And some of that has been because we've been so good offensively. It's been too easy at times, but their commitment on that end, it's them. They're the ones that have really renewed a commitment, and hopefully that'll continue.
All righty, let's go next to Patrick Murphy, 247.
Chris, Dwyane in the first game scores 30 points against Michigan. Afterwards, he told us that you guys would see them again down the road. He brought that up yesterday. Comes out and has that second half. Did you sense something in him that he this game means more or meant more, I guess?
It always does to that kid. I don't even know his stats. I haven't even looked at him. But it does to that kid. You know, it does. Oh, that's a pretty good stat line. It really does matter to him. It really does. You know, being a Michigan kid, growing up there, you know, this rivalry means a lot to a lot of our guys, especially, you know, guys that have grown up in Ohio, and even guys like EJ who now have seen, you know, after a couple years, a year and a half, what these games mean to our fans. And that's really, you know, we carry that with us. We know what it means to our fans. And Dwyane feels that. He knows what this game means to our fans. It's not football. We understand that. But Dwyane Washington, he cares about that. And he is as dialed in these games as any, more than any he plays his entire career.
All righty, we'll go next to Bill Landis from The Athletic. Bill.
Chris, I wanted to ask you a little more about the defense. This was Michigan's second worst 2-point field goal percentage game of the year, and you guys managed to defend them pretty well in there. I mean, outside of Dickinson, who's going to get his, but you do it without Kyle. Just how were you guys able to kind of manage that without a guy who's probably your best interior defender?
Yeah, I tell you, Bill, I do think there is a bit of an advantage when you get beat by a team and you play them so quickly, because you have a chance to make adjustments, and you really do get a chance to see areas that we just did not maybe prepare our guys as well, or we just didn't execute defensively as well. We executed this defensive game plan maybe as well as any that I've coached. They just were really locked in, and our guys were physical. They were tough outside of a couple fouls. They were phenomenal. But I do think, Bill, some of that speaks again to their renewed commitment. I hope it speaks to their renewed commitment on that end. I think they understand that we're going to live a pretty short life if we're not more consistent on that end.
All righty, next up, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Coach, a little bit more on Dwyane. I asked him what his leadership style was, and he said positive, and obviously he elaborated on that. But given what the last 3 weeks have been like for you guys, a 4-game losing streak, the way these games have played out, how important is the way he maybe approaches his leadership style been for your guys from just a confidence standpoint?
Yeah, good. It's a good question. Dwyane's really positive. He's really loose. He's really positive. I also think he understands this is hard. You know, Twitter coaches don't always understand that this is hard. What we're doing is hard. We're playing a really good team. And you got to accept the thing I love about Dwyane, and just like, you know, we had to embrace and own the fact that we didn't do some things well in that 4-game stretch, that we had to do better, Stephen. And we also realized that we did play well in stretches outside of maybe one game where I thought it was our poorest performance of the year. But his positivity is really important. His energy and I'll be honest with you, in a COVID year, when you test every morning, you're isolated, his passion for playing and competing and being at Ohio State has made an enormous difference. Like, look at the kid before every game. You know, he misses our fans dearly, but look at him before every tip. I mean, the guy loves what he's doing, and that's contagious. It really is.
All righty, next up, Steve Hellwagon, 247.
Yeah, I want to ask you about EJ. There had to be some really uneasy moments when he's on the ground and he's holding his wrist or his hand there, and made a great play to recover and block that shot, but it seemed like he injured himself, whatever. Just and for him to come right back in and hit 2 3-pointers like pretty quickly after that, I don't know what that says about his resolve and resiliency, but just your thought about his second half was, other than, as you said, those last few possessions, was maybe as good as he played in a while.
No doubt, Steve. I'm with you. I was on alert with that. He slapped that. I think he obviously hit the ball first, which gave me, but he might have followed through and hit the glass. I don't know, but it was a concern because he was in serious pain, Steve. I think we all understand how important he is, but more than that, you don't want any kid to miss any games or miss any time. He's loving playing. So I honestly thought we might not have him for the rest of the half. And I give Dwyane credit. I asked him about his kid that went down on the same play, and he asked me about EJ. Hoping both guys were healthy. Unfortunately, both guys got back in the game. But it was a relief, honestly, when I realized it was just maybe a bit of a stinger.
All righty, next up, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Chris, you guys started this Big Ten tournament with a win over Minnesota, who had beaten you guys earlier. Then you beat a Purdue team that beat you twice. Now you beat Michigan. You guys had a pretty good resume coming into the tournament, but are you guys proving something to yourselves as you guys go through this 3-game stretch here and win 3 straight games here?
I don't know that we look at it like that, Spencer. I think we're just, we're honestly trying to play a few more possessions of quality basketball. As simple as that sounds. I don't know that we're on a mission to prove anybody. We weren't panicking when we lost 4 in a row, much like I'm sure a lot of people were. Our guys weren't panicking. We didn't think, the season was headed in a direction. We understood that there's ups and downs. We're not a perfect team. We're not perfect players. We're not perfect coaches. We just are trying to move along and get better. And that's, I think, really been the focus as much as anything is, and that'll continue to be the focus. How can we be a little bit better than what we were in certain areas? So I do think that, honestly, I don't want to minimize the fact that winning that game, the first game, how that was important. I do think that. Now, I'm not saying that if we lost, we'd have went in the NCAA tournament and had zero confidence. I don't believe that about this group. But I do think, Spencer, that there is something about winning a game and your guys feeling a certain way and playing with a little bit more levity after that. And I think that's probably been important for us.
Already got time for just a couple more. We'll go to Doug Lamarice, Cleveland.com.
Sorry, Chris. Obviously, you were saying this today was a lot about the defensive effort, but all year, sometimes on offense, you guys are so connected. It's so smooth.
Yeah.
Just that level of play, whether it's in a game you have it a ton or whether it's one of those games we don't have it a ton, but when you guys are doing that on offense, how high of a level is that? I mean, you've been around a long time. How would you describe that level of offensive play when it's there?
It's the best when we're moving it. And Doug, I think to your point, we did not move it as well today. Right. It stuck a little bit, particularly early in the first half. It just stuck. And I don't think necessarily it was the pressure. I think the ball, it was sticking too much. But when it is moving and when the ball is finding the open man, and it's as good as offense as I've coached. And, last year we had a top 20 offense. A couple other years I've had top 20 offenses. But the difference really, Doug, is EJ's versatility and then some of the interchangeable parts that we have. Now, listen, I get it that sometimes our lack of size hurts us defensively. It has. But when you have a player like EJ that is such a hard matchup, and then you add in Dwyane and then some of our other guys that have really embraced a role. I think when the ball moves, it really is an effective offense. Justice Suing has helped us because he's a guy that can touch the paint and we really needed that. I think we've got to probably coach moving the ball a little bit better, but when it's moving, it's as good as I've coached.
All righty. We'll go next to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned FaceTiming Kyle after a game. Just do you know what his status could be, whether there's any chance he could play tomorrow and what that might look for going to the NCAA tournament?
I mean, I don't, he's day to day, I don't anticipate him being available tomorrow. As far as beyond that, it's very much, he's being evaluated day to day. He was in great spirits, as you'd expect. I mean, we had his jersey hanging in the locker room, and, our media people, our social media team did an unbelievable job. They put the jersey that got ripped last year in the hallway out here. They put put it up on the screen, a picture of it, so it was a constant reminder kind of a guy who really does care about this rivalry.
All righty. We'll wrap it up with Colin Hass-Hill from 11 Warriors.
Chris, I think high scoring and energetic guards can sometimes, really pop in the national spotlight when the postseason comes around and they can perform at a high level. Do you feel like the country is learning and about to learn a lot more about Dwyane Washington?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Colin. I don't know that. Listen, I hope people realize he's a heck of a kid and a heck of a player. Been well documented how much I love him, and sometimes our relationship has its moments. But I don't, I haven't really looked at it like that. I think Dwyane understands. He's really focused in the moment, and I think, listen, that we're going to have a huge challenge tomorrow. We're going to have a huge challenge in our opening NCAA tournament game. So I think that's all his focus right now. And I think if he gets off of anything else other than that, Colin, it can be really a dangerous place to go for a kid. But from a coach's perspective, listen, I hope he continues to perform at a high level because I want him to get everything he's earned.